My sister announced I was pregnant at my engagement party. I'm infertile. My sister clinked her glass, smiled sweetly, and said, I know this isn't my news to share, but I just couldn't keep it in anymore. She's pregnant. The room exploded into cheers before I even understood what she'd said. My fiancé froze beside me, his hand tightening around mine as every single guest turned to stare at my stomach. I felt the blood drain from my face so fast I thought I might pass out. I laughed instinctively because surely this had to be a joke. It wasn't. My sister stepped closer, rubbing her own belly dramatically, and said, Don't be shy. Everyone knows now. My mother gasped, crying happy tears. My father raised his glass. Someone shouted, I knew it! And I stood there, smiling like a mannequin while my entire life cracked open. I wasn't pregnant. I couldn't be pregnant. I'd found that out 3 years. Earlier in a cold doctor's office with my fiancé sitting beside me, squeezing my hand as the doctor explained that my chances were close to 0. We hadn't told anyone. Not my parents. Not my friends. Not my sister. It was private. It was painful. And now it was being rewritten in real time, by the one person who had always wanted to replace me. I tried to speak, but my sister kept talking, thanking everyone for supporting us, joking about baby names, soaking in attention like she'd just won something. My fiancé leaned down and whispered, What is she doing? I shook my head, my mouth dry. If I corrected her now, I'd be forced to explain everything in front of 50 people. If I stayed quiet, the lie would grow. My mother hugged me tightly and whispered, Why didn't you tell me? I almost broke right there. The night blurred after that. People touching my stomach, giving advice, telling me how lucky I was. My sister watched it all with a satisfied smile, like this was exactly how she planned it. When the party ended, my fiancé drove us home in silence. Halfway there, he asked the question I'd been dreading. Are you pregnant? I said no. He pulled over immediately. I explained everything. The diagnosis, the tests, the hope that slowly died. He believed me, but belief didn't stop the damage. By the time we got home, my phone was full of messages, congratulations, advice, and one from my sister that said, Relax, people will forget. Just go with it. That's when I realized she didn't make a mistake. She made a move. Growing up, my sister had always been louder, prettier, and needier. She demanded attention like oxygen. If I got praise, she'd cry. If I succeeded, she'd suddenly have a crisis. Our parents learned early it was easier to give her what she wanted than deal with her meltdowns. I learned to shrink. When I got engaged, something in her snapped. She made jokes about my ring, asked if my fiancé was sure, told people she'd always thought we were better as sisters than competitors, which made no sense because I'd never competed with her. The pregnancy announcement was just the boldest thing she'd ever done. The next morning, my mother called and asked why I'd lied to everyone. When I tried to explain, she said, Why would your sister make that up? That sentence hurt more than anything else. My sister had already told her version. She said I'd confessed privately and then panicked when it went public. She said I was embarrassed. She said I begged her to help soften the news. My parents believed her. Again, I asked her why she did it. She laughed and said, You already took the wedding. I wanted something too. That's when I stopped crying. Because this wasn't about pregnancy. It was about erasing me. A week later, she escalated. She posted online a photo of the engagement party with the caption, Can't wait to be an aunt. The comments poured in. When I asked her to take it down, she said I was being dramatic. When I told her I was infertile, she paused, then said, Well, technically miracles happen. I realized then she wasn't going to stop. And if I didn't expose the truth on my terms, she would twist it until I was the villain. So I made a decision that would split my family in half. I planned the dinner like it was a courtroom, not a family gathering. I picked a neutral restaurant. Nothing fancy enough to distract. Nothing casual enough to let people relax. I invited my parents, my sister, her boyfriend, my fiancé, and my aunt, the same aunt who always claimed to be the rational one. I told everyone I wanted to clear the air. My sister replied with a smiley face and said, Sure, let's talk. That should have been my warning. When we arrived, she was already there, sitting comfortably beside my mother, laughing like nothing had happened. She hugged me dramatically and whispered, You look tired. Pregnancy does that. My fiancé stiffened beside me. We sat down. Drinks were ordered. Small talk dragged on painfully while my heart hammered in my chest. Finally, I put my phone on the table and said we needed to talk about the engagement party. The table went quiet. My sister tilted her head and said, What about it? I asked her why she announced I was pregnant. She sighed loudly like I was inconveniencing her, and said she thought it was obvious. You told me, she said casually. My mother turned to me and frowned. You did tell her, didn't you? That's when I realized how deep this already went. I told them the truth, slowly, clearly. I explained the diagnosis, the tests, the doctor's words. I said my fiancé was there when it happened. He nodded, backing me up. My sister laughed. Actually laughed. She said I was being dramatic, that doctors were wrong all the time, that stress could block things. My dad asked why I'd never mentioned any of this before. I said because it was private. My sister leaned forward and said, Or because it never happened. The table erupted. My mom accused me of lying to make my sister look bad. My aunt said infertility was a sensitive topic, and maybe there was a misunderstanding. My fiancé raised his voice and said this wasn't a misunderstanding, it was a lie. My sister started crying immediately. She said she was being attacked for trying to be supportive. She said she was worried about me. She said she announced it because she thought everyone already knew. Every sentence made my chest tighter. This wasn't just gaslighting. This was performance. Then she did something I didn't expect. She pulled out her phone and showed everyone screenshots. Messages supposedly from me, thanking her for covering for me. Saying I wasn't ready to tell people yet. Saying I hoped she'd help ease everyone into the idea. My mother gasped. My dad looked disappointed. My aunt nodded like that settled it. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring. The messages looked real. My name, my photo, my writing style. But I hadn't sent them. My fiancé grabbed the phone and scrolled. His face changed. "These are fake," he said. My sister snapped that he was biased. I told them I'd never written any of that. My mom asked why my sister would fake messages. I asked why she'd announce a pregnancy that didn't exist. Silence. My sister started sobbing harder and said, I was cruel for accusing her. She said maybe I was ashamed of being pregnant. She said maybe I needed therapy. That's when my dad said the words that still ring in my ears. Maybe you should apologize. I left the restaurant shaking. My fiancé followed, furious, saying he'd never seen anything like it. On the drive home, I finally broke down. Years of being second, years of being doubted, years of swallowing things I shouldn't have. He told me we'd fix it, that the truth would come out. But the next few days proved how wrong that was. My sister told everyone I'd had a breakdown. She told relatives I was unstable. She told friends I was jealous of her happiness. She told my parents I needed space. People stopped reaching out. Invitations disappeared. When I called my mom, she said we should let things cool off. When I asked her if she believed me, she said she didn't want to choose sides. My sister moved fast. She posted vague quotes online about betrayal and forgiveness. People commented supportive messages. She liked every single one. Meanwhile, my phone stayed quiet except for one message, from my aunt asking if I'd considered therapy. That's when my fiancé suggested something drastic. He said if my sister was going to fabricate proof, then we needed real proof. He said we needed receipts that couldn't be twisted. We requested my medical records. Full documentation. Signed statements. The doctor even agreed to write a letter explaining the diagnosis in clear terms. I hesitated. Part of me still wanted privacy. But privacy had already been stolen. When the records arrived, I cried holding them. Not from sadness, but from anger. This was my pain reduced to evidence. My fiancé said we'd show my parents. I agreed. We invited them over. Just them, no sister. My mom seemed nervous. My dad looked annoyed. I handed them the folder and watched them read. My mom's hands shook. My dad frowned, rereading pages. For a moment, I thought this was it. The truth. Then my mom asked the question that broke something in me. Are you sure these are yours? My fiancé stood up and said that was enough. He said if they couldn't believe medical proof, then this wasn't about truth. My dad said my sister was upset and felt attacked. My mom asked if we could just move on and stop making things worse. I asked them if they understood what my sister did. My mom said she understood she made a mistake. I asked why they didn't ask her to apologize. My dad said apologies wouldn't fix anything. That's when I realized the rules were different for her. Always had been. That night, my sister showed up at our door unannounced. She cried. She hugged me. She said she never meant to hurt me. She said she just got excited. She said she didn't think it would spiral. Then she leaned in and whispered, if you keep pushing this, you'll lose them. I pulled away and asked her why she faked the messages. She smiled and said, because people believe what looks familiar. She told me to let it go. She told me she'd tell people I miscarried if that helped. That's when something in me snapped completely. I realized she wasn't afraid of the truth. She was confident I wouldn't expose her. She thought I'd stay quiet like always. She was wrong. Because while she was busy controlling the story, she didn't realize I'd already found something that could destroy hers. The thing about lies is that they usually depend on everyone else being tired. Tired of conflict. Tired of choosing sides. Tired of asking questions that might lead to uncomfortable answers. My sister knew that better than anyone. She'd spent our entire lives testing exactly how much she could get away with. And every time my parents smoothed things over, every time I was told to be the bigger person, she learned the same lesson. If she cried loud enough, the truth didn't matter. That night after she left our house, after she threatened me with losing my family, I sat on the couch staring at my phone, until my fiancé finally asked what. I was thinking. I told him I didn't care if they chose her anymore. I said I just wanted the truth out,